All right. We are now live. Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Okay. So last week we just did it online. I don't know. Did you get to see it? At least you're honest. Okay. So we moved ahead last week. I'll do a brief recap for those who didn't see it. And we are now holding in an interesting place in the Sefer Yetzirah. Again, we're still in chapter 1, verse 1. So last time we talked about this level, and we're going through the different descriptions of God's name that is being mentioned in the first pasuk of Sefer Yetzirah. We already said 32 mystical paths of wisdom, engraved Yud Hey, Lord of hosts, God of Israel, living God, King of the universe. And then he goes through all these names explaining God. And we went through these previously, just briefly. It says Kel Shaddai, Rahum, V'chanu, Ram, V'nisa, Shochenad, V'kadosh, Shemot, V'rom, V'kadosh, Hu, V'ra. And that's where, so different explanations of God. And we're going through these different levels through what we call Seder Histalshelus, or the chain of creation, through all the levels of the Sefirot. There's 4 worlds. There's the world of Atzilus, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. Basically, this is a process that God used and uses to make physical out of spiritual. So God is physical and spiritual. We can't say he's spiritual, otherwise that's limiting. He's physical and spiritual. He creates both of them. So in order to bring about a physical world, he had to take pure spiritual energy and transform it into physical matter. And that's the process of the chain of creation, all the different worlds. So as we pointed out earlier, what's interesting about the Sefer Yetzirah is that it was written by Avram Avinu, and who am I to say why he wrote it? But besides as a deep explanation of why God created the world, we do have indications that he wrote it as an instruction manual for the Kabbalists and people in very pure and spiritual levels. I don't know if there's anyone in our generation, maybe they're hidden tzaddikim, but have the ability to literally have their soul leave their bodies and climb up the Sephirotic tree and basically go up to heaven and go in the heavenly realms and visit heavenly academies and spend time soul basking God, and then climb back down the tree and go back into their normal lives with their families and work, whatever it is they're doing, undetected to anyone else in the world. Pretty crazy thing. At will, whenever they want, they just climb. It's like a kid climbs a tree out here, they climb the Sephirotic tree up to the spiritual worlds. So the Sefer Yetzirah is an instruction manual on how to go about doing that. There's all kinds of, in Kabbalah Ma'aset, which we don't really use these days, it's practical Kabbalah. Just from putting zivugim and different combinations of divine names, like people can, high-level sages can change the outcourse of the world. Like literally, you're altering it's like the world is like someone's like God is taking like a sketchboard and he's like shading over the area that's already indented, and that's the world. They could change the actual composite of the map, if you will, of the stamp of the universe. It's wild stuff. It's beyond the scope of what we're talking about. But the idea is that talking about this Sephirotic tree is that first you have to go down, right? We see this in the Torah. It says, Abraham went down to Egypt. What does Egypt mean? It means he went from down up here to down here. And he had to elevate down there. That's what we're doing in this physical world. But at some point in time, he has to take those sparks, that energy, and go back up. So the divine energy that we learn about comes into the world in 2 ways. It's called or yashar or chayzer, which is direct light. That would be the light that comes down from up, and returning light. That's the work from us, from the Jewish people down in this world, Torah, mitzvot, all the good deeds we do. We take that energy and we elevate it back up to God. And this process over the last thousands of years is resulting in the Sephirotic tree returning to a state where it's supposed to be, which is not a line, but a circle, where everything becomes one, finite, infinite, us, God. It all literally comes together in a beautifully, and that's the energy that's happening right now. And that's why things are so chaotic, if you will. So anyways, we went into these different explanations, how the Sefirot, that they go down, and also the energy comes back up, and these divine names of, like, let me see if there's read something in here. So this final pasuk, high in his name is holy, Kadosh. And there's a lot in the world between ruchnius and physical matter, energy. People who, it's like the Freemasons, Illuminati, people like this, they call it ether. Ether is raw energy. And what they have done is they have been able to capture that raw energy. God allowed them to do so. These are the gifts he sent to the east with Abraham's, the sons of Abraham's concubines. And he allowed them to basically have his ink, if you will, and say, go ahead, create whatever you want. Here are the rules of the world. And they break them, they do whatever they want, they lie, they cheat, and they build masses of governments and underground fraud and business, billions and who knows what they're doing. But they're only able to do that because of what they call ether, or spirituality, or ruchnius, which is basically godly energy. So that godly energy, it's a common theme. I forgot where it's brought down. It's in the Gemara. Many of our sages bring down that whatever path in life man chooses, God will assist them in success. So when someone is stuck in a loop and they're not moving, that's because their brain, their unconscious brain, unbeknownst to them, all day long is playing the same negative tape. It's not going to work. You're a failure. You're a loser. Nothing you do works. You're not successful. Just negativity over and over and over again. And every negative message that we're not aware of is reprogramming and putting us further into a hole that anytime we try to do something, for sure we'll never succeed, because we're so convinced in our brain that we're low, and then everything we do doesn't work. We don't understand why it is, because this is a deep unconscious bug that has to come out. Anyways, these are all interesting ideas beyond the scope of what we're coming from. But the idea is that a Jew is beyond this energy, this ether, this raw ink. A Jew is part of God. And that's why it says that God is kadosh. That we're called an am kadosh. Kadosh means holy. It means removed. It means we have the capacity and we're geared to be in this world without this world swallowing us up when we're connected to our source above, which is God. And this is the difference in what we say is ruchnius and kedusha. Ruchnius is some of the biggest horrific tyrants in this world. We're very spiritual people. They all had fortune tellers and dealt with black magic and had teams of occultists figuring out dates, and that they didn't just deal in this physical world. That doesn't make them holy, right? People go to India and sit and it doesn't mean they're holy. They could be on a spiritual elevation plane, but they're not connected to God any more than they're connected to God. Someone driving a Ferrari, it's the same idea. There's no God, but one's physical, one's spiritual. So we're saying that God created all these things in a way of what we say kadosh, and that's the ultimate goal, is to be able to transcend the limitations and the boundaries of this world, and all that noise and all that negative energy and all the garbage. And not that we don't need to sift through and heal what we have to heal, but simultaneously to work on connecting ourselves to God, because he's the ultimate healer. I am your healer, meaning that without God's, you're 800 years old. It's nothing. Maybe, okay, a little that you're never going to heal without God's blessing on the healing, because ultimately it all comes to returning to Hashem. And that's why we see that the Keter is the crown above everything. This is Kadosh. These upper sphirot of Keter, Chochmah, and Bina are removed from this world. They're an energy that we can't grasp in our brain. It's called a makif energy, a surrounding, a powerful energy. And in that energy, a goy can't go in here. This is for Kadosh. This is a holy place. They want to get near there. They want to have the crown. They want to be able to rule the world according to whatever garbage they want to shove down the world's throat. But they can't, because this is a place that they don't have a godly soul. They don't have the DNA, if you will, to go inside. So in this place, God is saying this is where all the energy comes into the world, And this is where all the healing takes place. This is where all the blessings take place. And the goal is to be able to tap into this type of energy. But the reality of it is there's only one way in the door. It's through God. There's no other way you get into that door of that storehouses of this kadosh, of real healing without God. I'm not here to be a Bible thumper. I tried every other door. It'll give you temporary relief, whether that's a joint, whether that's sex, whether that's going to a movie, whether that's buying things. They're all just numbing pain. Every one of us finds a new pain numbing mechanism, and we loop. And all day long, we burn the most precious commodity we have, which is time. It would be like someone sitting here with $100 bills and just lighting them on fire all day long. We'd say, what are you doing? Are you out of your mind? But that's what we do all day long because we're stuck in a negative loop pattern. So I don't want to get into a psychology class, but the idea is that this energy, this kadosh energy, this holy energy is the only energy that takes us out. It doesn't mean that God says, I'm with you in all that you do. You have to heal. You have to use the tools in this world. If you're an alcoholic, you don't sit and say, God save me. You say that, but then you need to work. You have to do the action, right? This is a pasuk says, God is with you in all that you do, but you have to do. So when we do, that opens the blessing for God's energy to come in. And this is the level of ultimately where Geula is going to go. We're getting very, very close in the world to the point where people are not going to have a choice. It's going to be made for them. There's only two sides left. It's not anymore. All the middle people are like, well, I kind of, this and kind of, it's evaporating. And you're either going to be holding on to the worst garbage, vile, horrific, you can't even explain in the world, you're going to be holding on to God. But you can't hold each side like we try to do. We try to it doesn't work. It's literally not working anymore. And that's why you see so much chaos. God's just breaking these things. So whatever, it's a forbidden. Let's say l'chaim because it is Rosh Chodesh Tammuz. So Chodesh Tov, the Rebbe calls Tammuz one of the months of Geula, of the redemption. Partially because the Frierdiker Rebbe was released from prison in this month, and also Gimel Tammuz is the beginning of the redemption that the Rebbe brought us into the stage of Mashiach time. But yeah, it's challenging because ultimately it's everyone out there is dancing around. No one wants to go in because it's work. It's easy to dance on the outside and do your meditation and go to the beach and whatever. And I have my own. .1 we're on now. We're about to finish up and take to 1.2. So I just want to read this insight briefly. 1.1, where it says, V'hu v'ra es olomo, and God created his world, his universe, b'shlosha sfarim, with 3 books. Sefer, which is like a text. Saper, which is a number, and Sipor, which is communication. And we're going to get into this in a minute, but it's very interesting that the entire universe is created with these 3 books. There are 3 aspects of the Torah. There's only one Torah, but there's 3 dimensions to it. And that is, and I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but one is text, one is numbers, and one is communication. So text or explanation is basically the Hebrew alphabet. We started the Sefer Yetzirah with this. There's 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. So through letters, we're able to communicate and we're able to describe things, just like I'm able to talk to you right now. If I didn't have letters, if I couldn't talk, then obviously I wouldn't be able to speak to you, right? Like a child grows up, they start learning more, they get a better language, but it's through our communication that we're able to convey energy and information to one another. And that communication is done through combination of letters. But then we have the second component, which is quantity. That's what we call quality. Quantity is numbers. It's how do we value things? How do we count? How do we keep score in a game? How do we decide, what day a woman's menstrual cycle is on? Everything in this world is connected to these two mechanisms, quantity and quality. Being in America, and like most Americans, for better or worse, usually when someone says, you need to put more effort, do more, they think in terms of quantity. That's how I always was raised my whole life. Do more, do more, do more, in numbers. That may or may not be true, but a lot of times what people ignore is do more in quality, in depth. Doing more doesn't necessarily mean you have to keep adding things, but the things you're doing, do it more intention, go deeper into this idea. So these are the two measuring mechanisms, again, of creation: number, which represents quantity, and letters, which represent quality. Then we have the third book, which is communication. And that is stories. That is how we string together numbers and letters to make cohesive sentences that make sense and is built. It's really a fascinating concept, because the more you study Hasidus and Kabbalah, and the more you see the complexity and the levels of how God created the world and continues to create so, we get a little bit of a glimpse into the complexity of ourselves, because we're a microcosm of this. And, it's a fascinating concept to look at it and be like, wow, nothing existed and God created all of this, and he keeps creating it every second. Yet we are co-creators, meaning every day we are creating our own reality. This is our own Gan Eden. Like, everyone's waiting for Mashiach. That's second stages. First stages of Mashiach, everyone's going to wake up and realize, wow, this is my garden. And here are the tools to make it beautiful and have God and my partner in doing it. And we'll be focused in our own world instead of other people's worlds. So this is the idea of, we have the same capacity, if you think about it, so to speak, as God. God creates Yesh Ma'ayin, we create Yesh Ma'esh. I mean, we have to work with something. But if you travel around the world and any type of man-made, you go on a plane, right? You go on a boat, you drive over a bridge, see a giant with thousands of offices. I mean, how do they started, so to speak, like God did. Okay. It is possible and it's doable, and we have the tools. And I have found one of the greatest tools that we have is really prayer. When we get to a place when it's hard and we're stuck and we're broken, right? At that point in time, we can always pray. I'm not talking about a prayer book. I'm talking about going in your bed, putting the pillow over your head, going out to the beach, we don't have to go any forest here, but a park, whatever, anywhere, and just talking to God and asking for help, because he makes it hard, and he made it hard. Honey, how are you? And he knows it. The hardest thing to do, one of the hardest things we do for us to do as human beings, is to ask for help. Whether that's from God, whether that's from a friend, whether that's from anyone. Because when you're raised in a less than perfect household and your parents aren't functioning in the proper way, from a very young age, we're very adaptive. And we realize very quickly the very people who are supposed to be caring for me, taking care of me, and nurturing me, I need to take care of them because they're not functioning. And I need to help my brother. I need to help my sister. I need to help keep this family together because my parents aren't doing it. The second that happens, and it happens to all of us, usually at a very young age, our childhood is gone. And we enter it as a child with an adult responsible brain of, I need to fix the situation. What works, what doesn't work, we all have our own flavor of bangs and bruises along that way. But what happens is we grow up, and number one, that child is gone. We don't have the playfulness, the joy, the happiness, the instead of looking at it as, oh my God, what if I fail? Curiosity of a kid, hey, let's go play. What's going to happen? I don't know. And we fall down, we bang our head. Oh, well, that hurt. Let me go back and play. We're so broken and so shattered, we don't even have this capacity of playfulness, and it's gone. We become very strict and then as we get older, we sort of find a way to figure things out in life, and we quote unquote get by. And we're so adjusted to living in this state of exile, of Galut, of Egypt, of just getting by. I lived in that space for a long time. That's how I was educated. Get by, just get by. And I'm looking around at people and they're not getting by. They're prosperous. They have nice things. They're doing nice things that I want to be part of. It. I just got to survive right now until we get to the next stage of awareness where we're like, all right, I need to get out of this place mentally, emotionally, consciously. And that starts by asking for help. Because until we ask for help, we still have that old program of, I'll figure it out. I'll make it work. I can do this. I got this. Wait, we all have our little supermen and superwomen we put inside of us. And that doesn't mean building huge businesses. That means just getting by day to day. And when things are hard, just putting our head above water and trying to function in another day, when we have this energy that wants us to just climb, as we said, into fetal position and go under the blanket and do one of those moves. So the first step really to anything is to ask for help. And God is one of the places we need to direct that to. Help me. You're like, this is a very hard situation you put me in. And I'm not complaining, thank God. Let me be grateful for the good things, but I need help with this. Start writing down the problems we have in our life, the challenges, the things that we're stuck in, and just start asking for help. And what happens is when we put our pride down and we put our head down and we start asking for help, we start realizing that asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. A sign of weakness is, I got this, I can figure it, I'll do it myself, until we slowly rot and we get into this mode. And then there's like this joy of being depressed. We've all been there, where it's like, why do we not get out of this place? Because there's a comfort in the sickness. I don't know how to explain it. It's hard to put it in words. I'm sure we've all been there. You get comfortable in the sickness of because you know it. They call it battered wife syndrome with women who are abused. They call it Stockholm syndrome with people who are taken captive and start associate with their captive. We have the same thing with our Yetzirah, with the negative energy inside of us. We just get to this place where we can't function. So the first thing is ask for help. How do we ask for help? Scream out to God. Demand. Say, God, would I earn it or not? I deserve it or not? I'm your child. I'm your child. And you should help me, right? Hi, how are you? So I turned this into a little bit of a Farbrengen instead of a class, but that's okay. Okay, good. So I want to now go a little bit into this to start this one area of these three ideas. The three books that God created the world with, right? Again, we have quantity, quality, and communication. And just to rephrase, each one of us every day, when we wake up in the morning and we say, Modeh, wash our hands, we have a reset. And we're starting over with a brand new empty page of paper, of numbers and letters. And just to think about a little bit of like, what do I want my world to look like today? Because if I'm waiting for the world to give me what it wants to give me, it's probably going to be the same garbage that my unconscious is projecting out there. I've done this, and it's mind-boggling how the very groups of people that I've been around, whether that's my parents or friends or even my own family, when I go inside myself and I do surrender and I heal and I pray and I cry and I work on myself and I pull garbage out from inside of me, the whole world changes around you. And no one has changed. You're changing. It's our unconscious mind is projecting outwards that negative energy. All that's going on in the world, that's negative energy of mankind and of Jewish people who are so embarrassed and so afraid to be Jews that we keep making excuses and trying to beg up to the goyim so they'll give us a little pat on the head. And all that negative, it's projecting in the world. It's projecting in the world. What can we do? We can fix ourselves. We could work on ourselves again. So we have these three books. The problem is what the Yetzirah does is it creates, it's like when someone has, God forbid, heart disease, like they have a heart attack, right? What is a heart attack? It's plaque that's built up inside the arteries. Plaque is over time people eating unhealthy foods, high fat concentrated foods, high cholesterol foods, and they start building plaque around the arteries of the heart. And eventually, God forbid, what could happen is they start shrinking to the point that no blood could go. That's a heart attack. Or in the brain, that's a stroke. When the energy can't go through because it's so blocked up. Most physical sicknesses, by the way, are a complete representation of the spiritual element that's going on beneath it. So in our lives, what happened is the negative energy that came to us from our families, generations, previous, all people that we've been through, all that negative energy that's come to us, it creates a plaque inside of us, plus all of our own challenges. So we want to think positive. We want to think good. We want to be healthy. But when you start your day already at a deficit, because you've already buried yourself in such a low hole of convincing yourself how you're no good and all your problems, it's very hard to go to that next step. So it's a combination of going to the light and also cleaning out the plaque, cleaning out the darkness. And for this, you need help. We need people outside of us. We need therapists. We need healing tools, whatever they can be, to access deeper layers. All of these tools, whether it's EMDR or IFS or plant medicine or breathing work, breath work, meditative work, all of these tools are going to a deeper place in our unconscious to try to free out that plaque. Talk therapy can't get you there. It can get you there maybe in 100 years. It's nice. It's good to take things out. But we need deeper tools in our generation to really go deep inside it and pull that negative energy out, so we can look at the world the way we're supposed to look in the world, which is every moment I've got letters, I've got numbers, and I've got a world to communicate with. That's my wife, my kids, my family, my friends, surroundings, whatever it may be. We get to choose. It's a wild concept if you think about it, that we get to choose how our life is going to unfold, because we have, to some extent with God's guidance, because we have the ability to say, you know what? I want to do this, or I want to get this, or I want to, one day I want to build a house. Like we start building those plans out, and we have the ability to make that happen. So anyway, so the Sefer Yetzirah begins to define the word of Sphira, right? Sephira, called Sefer Yetzirah, but it's beginning on the first pasuk of the word Sephira. So the Hebrew designation for the divine emanations that form the basis of creation. This is a Sphira. So there are 10 Sphirot. Keter, Chokmah, Bina, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus. Sometimes we use Dot instead of Keter. That's when we're bringing the energy down. Keter is when the energy is going up. Each one of these is a way, it's a communication channel of how God communicates with us and how we communicate with him. Now, let's be very clear about something. Whether we like it or not, whether we're happy about it or not, whether we care or not, God is communicating with us and we are communicating with him every day, all day. Because if not, we wouldn't be here. The second that communication would end, we'd be 6 feet under because we would no longer be living. As long as God is keeping us alive, he's sending energy into us. And as long as we're alive, we're sending energy into the world, into our brain and back up to God. It can be a positive, conscious, warm, loving energy, or it could be a back-to-back energy of I hate you, I want nothing to do with you, I want nothing to do with your Torah, nothing to do with your world. Screw you. You screw me, screw you. It's still communication. That's what's happening. So it's if we were able to sit and record our unconscious mind for 24 hours and listen to the thoughts that go on without us being aware or even being aware and play it back, we will know exactly what our world looks like outside. Because if that's negative stuff, our world will always be dark, no matter what's going on. If it's positive stuff, the world will always be light. Usually it's a combination. But that's the energy that's coming out. This is the communication. This is what the Yetzirah does. It causes us to do something wrong, or it makes our life hard. And then afterwards, it tells us you're wrong, you're no good. It gives us guilt, and then it hammers us and hammers us, hammers us. And when it hammers us, guess what happens? It just sucks our energy. That's what a pyramid is. I can go really deep into this. A pyramid is a storage of energy. Egypt is a bunch of pharaohs, a bunch of negative thoughts that are stuck in our brain and our unconscious, telling us we're fat, we're ugly, we're no good, we're failures, we're losers, whatever you want to plug in there. And as long as we let that tape to play before we turn and say, no, I'm not, screw you, who are you? And we acknowledge that that's not us, that's a foreign voice, it will keep keeping us slaves. And all day long, we're building their pyramids. We're giving them our gold. We're giving them our divine energy. We're giving them our ether. We're giving them the tools that God gave us to make the world beautiful. And we're laying like dead people and they're sucking our energy. And we're angry, we're frustrated, we're tired. What are we so tired for if we're not doing anything? The people I know who are the most exhausted don't do anything. They lay around the couch. I'm like, how are you tired? What did you do today? They never have energy. They're always drained. They don't have energy. Want to go for a walk? I don't have energy. I don't. How do you not have energy? What are you not doing? Because our energy is being sucked. It's being sucked by negative pharaohs in Egypt. These are pyramids. That's all of our divine energy every day that we have has been taken captive by our enemies, and we're cooperating with them. Stockholm syndrome. We're like, what can I do? Okay, yes, this is who I am. And until we wake up and say, no, I'm not going to be this slave anymore. Anyways, so these divine energy channels are how God channels these different energy sources to us and how we take this energy back to him. In a healthy system, it's similar to communication. It's communication amongst one another. We have emotions. There's good friends here. There's a husband and wife here. We express our different emotions differently. Sometimes it's love. Sometimes it's anger. Sometimes it's seriousness. Sometimes it's strictness. We don't realize it, but we manifest our energy with each other in different ways all the time. In fact, they say in communications, I do this with my office, this exercise. When you're saying something to another person, less than 10% of what they're processing is what you're saying. 90% is your facial features, the energy, your tone, and what they sense is behind that message. So when a parent's like, could you please clean your room? That's one energy. If a parent's like, clean your room, no. The same words they say, how are you? The same words are coming out, but it's a totally different energy transfer and energy process. So this idea is happening above. All day long, every day, there's a transfer of energy going on between us, between God and us in the world. And this is the flow. And a lot of times the flow is broken. So I just want to go in this for a brief moment, and then we'll end for the evening. What time are we doing? Okay, a few more minutes. So a Sefer, a Sefer, these are the Sefirot. This is an energy bucket. It's an energy bucket that conveys the energy in a different way based on what it is. So now it says the Hebrew word for Sefer, which is a book, is the same root of Sphira, except one is masculine and one is feminine. So a Sefer, or a book, is the same as a Sphera, which is one of these energy sources. Just one's masculine and one's feminine. So it says, these three books are said to be the text, number, and communication, as we said above. The Hebrew word for text here is Sefer, which literally means book. Number is Sefer, which from English is cipher, which means like to derive, to get to this energy. And communication, or Sipor, literally means to tell. These are the three books that God used to create the world, and they represent what we spoke about earlier: quality, quantity, and communication. Quality is letters, quantity is numbers, and communication is how that energy gets transferred. That, again, is the foundation of every single conscious or unconscious thought, word, and action we do in our lives is based on quantity. How much of it? How much energy am I going to give? How much effort am I going to put towards this goal? What time am I going to do it? Measuring in numbers. And quality is the type of what it's going to be, right? We'll take a garden. So quantity is how many. Quality is what are the flowers going to look like. Right? Do I want 100 daisies, or do I want 3 roses? The flowers, the trees, that is what we say quality. They're describing the idea. The numbers is quantity. And how that energy is going to get conveyed, this is communication, or the book. Meaning, how am I going to take these things and bring them into reality? So these are letters, numbers, and the manner in which they are used. Let me finish up this paragraph, then we'll stop. These 3 books correspond to the 3 divisions of creation defined by the Sefer Yetzirah. Now it's going to get really interesting. Universe, year, and soul. I'm going to explain that in a second, and we'll get into it more next time. In more modern terms, it's called space, time, and spirit. Universe refers to the dimension of space, year to time, and soul to spirituality. So now we're taking this concept of letters, numbers, and communication in an individual and making it in a godly place, of world referring to space, which is basically north, east, south, and west, like physical dimensions, right? Then we have year, time. How do we measure time? From counting days, numbers, weeks, years. And then we have what is called as soul, which is basically the spiritual energy behind everything. So as we will see in the Sefer Yetzirah, and we'll talk more about this next time because it's going to take some time to delve into this. It speaks of a 5-dimensional continuum defined by 10 sefirot. The first 3 are space. This is Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, and Yisoid, representing north, south, east, west, and up and down. That's how you define physical space.
Which ones?
Chesed is south, Gevurah is north.
Really?
Yeah. Tiferet is east, Yisod is west, Netzach is up, and Hod is down. So all these sefirot that we talk about in Kabbalah and Chassidus, and people are like, yeah, that's very esoterical. No, it's basically the building blocks of all of creation. That's physicality. That is how you have directions, right, in this world. Then the next step is the 2 sefirot of Chokhmah and Bina, which represents past and future time. And the final coupling is Keter Malchus, which represent what we say is soul, or energy, as we spoke about, in its most spiritual form versus its most physical form. That transdimensions. 3D, if you're watching a 3D movie, it's because instead of being flat, it's projected out further. That is basically a concept of space, of dimension. Then you have deeper dimensions. That's why we're everything is connected to 5 now. I spoke at this previously, like we're in 5G in our cell phones, like we're trying to tap in. We're in this 5th dimension of energy, which is Keter Malchus, which is the final dimension, which is basically us and God, which is ultimately will be physical and spiritual, heaven and earth, as they all come together.
Is that like Mashiach?
Yes, exactly. Mashiach is this 5th dimension. So we'll stop here, and because this is something that we don't want to start delving into right now, because it's I don't want to say it's difficult or challenging, but it's interesting. A lot of aspects to it. All right. Thank you. I'll see you next week.
If it's not hard for you,
Yeah, one second.
just make sure